6-year-old Lily Thompson disappeared from her backyard on a sunny afternoon, leaving her family and the small community in despair. Search efforts continued for weeks, but no sign of Lily was ever found. As time passed, hope faded, and her parents were left with nothing but grief and unanswered questions. On the 1-year anniversary of her disappearance, the community gathered to remember her. But that day, her quiet neighbor, Mr. Collins, stepped forward, his face pale, and confessed something that would turn the entire investigation upside down. The Thompson family organized a neighborhood meeting to discuss Lily's case on the anniversary of her disappearance. The weight of a year without answers hung heavily in the air as people gathered in the Thompsons' spacious living room. Neighbors exchanged nervous glances, unsure of what the night might reveal. Tim, Lily's father, stood front and center, holding a framed photo of Lily, while Sarah, her mother, gripped his hand tightly. The room fell silent as Tim began to speak. Emotions ran high as Lily's parents recounted the painful memories and pleaded for any new information. "We've been living a nightmare," Sarah said, her voice trembling. "If anyone knows anything, please, come forward. We just want our baby home." Tim pulled Sarah closer, his eyes scanning the room for a glimmer of hope. Neighbors murmured softly, exchanging condolences and whispers. The raw, heartfelt plea touched everyone, rekindling a sense of urgency to find Lily. A local detective, Officer Sanchez, attended the meeting, hoping to gather new leads. He stood at the back, observing the crowd with a calm but attentive demeanor. As the Thompsons finished their plea, he stepped forward. "I'm Officer Sanchez, and I'm here to help," he announced, his voice steady and reassuring. "Any piece of information, no matter how small, could be crucial. Please, if you remember anything unusual from that day, speak up." His presence lent a sense of renewed determination. Suddenly, Mr. Collins, the reclusive neighbor, requested to speak privately with Officer Sanchez. His serious demeanor caught everyone's attention, and whispers spread through the room. Collins had always kept to himself, making his sudden involvement all the more intriguing. "Detective, could we talk for a moment?" he asked, his voice barely above a whisper. Officer Sanchez nodded, guiding Mr. Collins to a quieter corner by the kitchen. The room buzzed with speculation as they moved away. Officer Sanchez led Mr. Collins to a quiet corner to hear his confession. Away from the curious eyes and ears of the crowd, Collins took a deep breath. "There are things I noticed, things I dismissed at the time," he began, wringing his hands nervously. Sanchez leaned in, urging him to continue. "What sort of things?" the detective asked gently. Collins paused, as if weighing his words carefully. The room's atmosphere grew increasingly tense as they waited. Mr. Collins began to tell Officer Sanchez about strange occurrences he noticed before and after Lily's disappearance. "That summer, I heard noises at odd hours," he said, glancing around uneasily. "Scratching sounds, like someone was moving around near my property late at night." Sanchez furrowed his brow, making notes. "Did you see anyone?" he asked. Collins hesitated, choosing his words. "Not exactly. Just fleeting shadows and movements. But I was never sure." He recalls unsettling noises and shadows near his property that summer, dismissing them as his imagination. Collins sighed, shaking his head. "I shrugged it off back then, thinking maybe it was just critters or my mind playing tricks on me," he continued. "I never thought it could be linked to Lily's disappearance." Sanchez frowned, feeling the weight of Collins's regret. The small details, dismissed at the time, now seemed like potential pieces to a troubling puzzle. Collins reluctantly admits he'd seen someone lingering around Lily's backyard on a few occasions. "There was a figure," he said, his voice dropping to a near whisper. "I saw them from my window late at night. At first, I thought it was nothing." Sanchez leaned in closer, urging him to explain further. "This person, what were they doing?" Collins hesitated, glancing around nervously. "Just standing there, watching. It didn't seem right, but I told myself it was harmless." At the time, he thought it was harmless due to high community trust. "We've always had a safe neighborhood," Collins explained, fidgeting with his hands. "Everyone knows each other. I just couldn't believe anything bad could happen here." Officer Sanchez nodded, understanding how the tight-knit community's trust could blind someone to danger. "But now, looking back, I realize how suspicious it was," Collins added, his voice filled with regret. "I should have paid more attention." He also mentions receiving anonymous notes directing his suspicions elsewhere, but had ignored them. "I thought they were pranks," Collins admitted, pulling out a stack of crumpled papers from his pocket. Officer Sanchez raised an eyebrow, inspecting one of the notes. Each one pointed to different neighbors, creating a confusing web of misleading clues. "Why didn't you mention these before?" Sanchez asked, a hint of frustration in his voice. Collins sighed deeply, regret weighing heavily on him. Collins's revelations suggest a deliberate effort to mislead the investigation, raising more questions. Officer Sanchez felt the weight of the new details. "Someone wanted to throw us off," he muttered, looking down at the notes. Each cryptic message seemed carefully crafted to waste valuable time. "These notes, they complicate things," Sanchez said, his mind racing with possibilities. Collins nodded solemnly, understanding the gravity of his late confession. The room buzzed with uneasy whispers. Officer Sanchez reinvigorates the investigation based on the new information. "We're reopening every line of inquiry," he announced firmly, addressing the room. "Those notes show someone went to great lengths to hide the truth." The neighbors looked at each other, realizing the depth of the deception. "It's time we dig deeper," Sanchez continued. "I'll need everyone's cooperation, no matter how small the detail." The renewed sense of urgency spread through the room, reigniting hope. Forensic teams revisit Lily's backyard, searching for overlooked clues. Yellow tape surrounded the area as experts combed through every inch with meticulous care. Officer Sanchez watched as they scanned the ground, shifting dirt and leaves. "We need to be thorough," he reminded them. Every face in the team was one of determination. They knew that any small object might be the key to understanding what had happened. The search carried on through the day. They uncover a partially buried toy near the fence shared with Mr. Collins's yard, which seems out of place. One of the forensic team members called out, holding up the dirt-covered object. Officer Sanchez moved quickly to examine it. "This doesn't look like it belongs here," he said, carefully brushing off the dirt. The toy was a small, colorful figure, worn from use. The find energized the team, bringing a renewed focus to their search. Lily's parents confirm it's one of her favorite toys, bringing a glimmer of hope to their weary faces. Sarah gasped when she saw the toy, tears welling up. "This was Lily's," she whispered, holding it close. Tim placed a reassuring hand on her shoulder, his face a mix of pain and relief. Officer Sanchez nodded, feeling the significance. "We might be on the right track," he said. This small discovery rekindled hope in their hearts. The community begins to speculate about hidden secrets among themselves. Conversations buzzed with theories and suspicions. "Could it be someone we know?" one neighbor whispered. "What if there's more we're missing?" asked another. Rumors started to spread, each more sensational than the last. The unease grew, feeding off the uncertainty that had settled over the town. Officer Sanchez knew he had to manage this growing tension carefully to prevent further chaos. Neighbors start to be more watchful, heightening tension and suspicion. People began to look at each other with wary eyes, questioning even the most familiar faces. "We can't trust anyone completely," someone muttered. Sarah noticed the shift, the sense of safety that once enveloped their community dissipating. Patrolling cars increased, and curfews became tighter. Officer Sanchez urged calm, but the damage was evident. The air was thick with mistrust, and everyone was on edge. As Officer Sanchez delves deeper, he uncovers the mysterious notes Mr. Collins mentioned, finding them crudely written, but with purposeful hints. Sanchez spread the notes out on his desk, examining the scrawled handwriting. Each note was meant to distract, pointing fingers in different directions. "Who would do this?" he asked aloud. He needed to determine the pattern, if any, in these misleading messages. The hunt for the person behind the notes began in earnest. Handwriting analysis reveals they were likely written by someone familiar with the neighborhood, sparking internal unrest. Experts noted the idiosyncrasies, suggesting a local author. "These aren't random," Sanchez concluded, tapping a note. The community's sense of safety was further eroded. Everyone began to question each other more intensely. "Could it be someone close by?" Sarah asked, voicing what many feared. The realization chilled everyone, deepening the crisis and escalating the neighborhood's nervous energy. A new neighbor, Mrs. Rodriguez, recalls seeing a van that didn't belong parked near the Thompsons' house on the day Lily vanished, but she hesitated to report it initially. Standing nervously before Officer Sanchez, she described the vehicle in detail. "I thought it was just visiting someone," she admitted. Sanchez noted her account, realizing it could be a vital clue. The hesitant witness now felt the weight of her delayed revelation. Her description of the van matches one registered to a distant relative of the Jenkins family. "It had a distinctive decal on the side," Mrs. Rodriguez explained. Officer Sanchez's eyes widened slightly. "That could narrow things down," he said, noting the particular details. The connection between the van and the Jenkins family added a layer of intrigue. It was a small but significant step forward in their search for the truth. The community starts to piece together fragmented details of that fateful day, revealing a troubling picture. Neighbors began to recall odd events and unexplained sightings. "There was something off about that day," one person murmured. Conversations grew livelier as long-forgotten memories resurfaced. Each piece seemed to fit into a larger, more sinister puzzle. Officer Sanchez realized the importance of these collective recollections and urged everyone to keep sharing. Officer Sanchez visited the Jenkins family to inquire about the van and their connection to Lily. He knocked on their door, and Mr. Jenkins opened it warily. "May I come in?" Sanchez asked. Inside, he explained the situation and the van's potential link to Lily's disappearance. Mr. Jenkins looked visibly uncomfortable, but agreed to answer questions. The mood in the room grew tense as Sanchez prepared to dig deeper into the family's history. Mr. Jenkins is defensive but cooperative, sharing that his nephew had borrowed the van that summer. "He needed it for a job," Jenkins explained, eyeing Officer Sanchez cautiously. "I didn't think much of it at the time." Sanchez probed further, asking about the nephew's behavior and whereabouts. Mr. Jenkins hesitated, but began to recount the summer events, each answer feeling like another piece falling into place in a complicated puzzle. He mentions how his nephew, an unpredictable young man with a troubled past, had been staying with them temporarily. Mr. Jenkins sighed. "He's had a rough life," he confessed. in and out of trouble since he was a kid. Sanchez leaned forward, sensing important details. "What kind of trouble?" he asked. Mr. Jenkins wrung his hands, reluctant but resigned. "He's got a history of erratic behavior. Never stayed in one place too long." The nephew's erratic behavior raised eyebrows, but no one connected him to Lily's disappearance until now. He'd disappear for days, come back acting like nothing happened, Mr. Jenkins explained. Neighbors noted his unpredictable actions, but never thought to link them to Lily. "We just thought he was troubled," one neighbor admitted when questioned. This revelation painted a clearer picture of a suspect hiding in plain sight, shedding new light on the investigation. With this new lead, Sanchez orders a thorough investigation into the nephew's background and whereabouts during the time of Lily's disappearance. "Leave no stone unturned," he instructed his team. They began digging into records and following every possible lead on the nephew's movements. The investigation team knew they needed to act quickly to uncover any overlooked evidence. This renewed effort brought a sense of urgency, hoping to finally break the case wide open. Suspense builds as they prepare to locate and question him. The town buzzed with anticipation as the investigation entered a critical phase. Officer Sanchez coordinated with local law enforcement, planning their next steps meticulously. "We need eyes everywhere," he directed, assigning tasks. Each new revelation about the nephew added layers of tension. The possibility of uncovering the truth about Lily's disappearance seemed within reach, but the pressure was mounting, making every moment crucial. The investigation reveals the nephew had suddenly left town shortly after Lily disappeared. "He packed up and vanished," one relative noted, recalling the abrupt departure. This timeline fit too perfectly with the events surrounding Lily's case. Officer Sanchez had his team track down his last known locations, piecing together his trail. The urgency to find him grew as each new detail emerged, painting an increasingly ominous picture of his possible involvement. His last known address is a run-down apartment in a neighboring city. The team gathered the details, noting the dilapidated state of the building. It was the kind of place where people came and went without much notice. Officer Sanchez prepared his team for what lay ahead. "We need to be cautious," he instructed, knowing the environment could conceal various dangers. The sense of urgency drove them forward, determined to leave no stone unturned. Officer Sanchez leads a team to the location only to find it abandoned but filled with disturbing sketches resembling Lily. The walls of the small apartment were covered. "Looks like he spent some time here," Sanchez commented, feeling a chill. Each drawing captured Lily in eerie detail, revealing an unsettling obsession. "Bag everything," he directed, knowing these sketches could be key evidence. The discovery raised the stakes. They weren't just looking for a runaway anymore. They find photos of the Thompson family, taken secretly, increasing the urgency to locate the nephew. Officer Sanchez picked up a stack, flipping through them with a growing sense of dread. "He's been watching them for a long time," he muttered. The candid shots, taken from hidden vantage points, showed an unsettling familiarity. "This changes everything," Sanchez said firmly. His team knew the evidence pointed to something far more sinister, pushing their resolve to find Lily. Officer Sanchez and his team gain a breakthrough when they track the nephew's recent movements through credit card transactions. They followed each purchase, forming a trail. "He's smart, but not careful enough," Sanchez noted. The transactions led them to various locations, each one painting a clearer picture of his movements. "He's been on the move, but we're catching up," an officer said. The team's persistence paid off as they narrowed down the possible hideouts. They discover he's been frequenting a remote cabin owned by an old family friend. "It's secluded," Sanchez observed, studying the map. The location made sense for someone trying to hide. "We need to approach carefully," he advised, conscious of the potential dangers. The cabin was deep in the woods, far from prying eyes. The team geared up, understanding this could be their chance. A sense of determination settled over them as they set out. Law enforcement set out quietly to the cabin to avoid alerting him. The sound of gravel under their tires was the only noise as they approached. Officer Sanchez signaled for silence, emphasizing the element of surprise. They moved with precision, knowing any misstep could cost them. "Stay alert," Sanchez whispered. The tension was palpable, each officer keenly aware of the stakes. The trees closed in, creating a tunnel-like path that led directly to the cabin. Upon arrival, they hear sounds from within, confirming someone is inside. Officer Sanchez held up his hand, signaling his team to stop. "Did you hear that?" he murmured. Muffled movements and faint rustling suggested activity inside the cabin. The officers exchanged glances, understanding the importance of their next move. "We've got to be sure," Sanchez said quietly. The presence of life inside heightened the urgency, adding pressure as they prepared for what might come next. They prepared to enter cautiously, knowing this could be their chance to rescue Lily, if she's still alive. The team positioned themselves strategically, each officer ready for anything. "On my count," Sanchez instructed in a hushed tone. Their breaths were shallow, nerves taut with anticipation. The weight of the moment pressed heavily as they readied to breach the cabin. "Stay sharp," Sanchez reminded. Every second felt elongated, each beat of their hearts hammering the significance. Bursting into the cabin, the officers face an eerie silence before discovering clues suggesting someone left in haste moments before they arrived. Broken furniture and scattered belongings painted a picture of a hasty departure. "He's close," Sanchez remarked, scanning the room. "Check everything," he ordered. The hurried exit suggested they had barely missed him. The air was thick with tension, knowing they were closing in. The hunt intensified, and every clue brought them one step closer. Signs of Lily's presence, like a small bed and personal items, are found, giving the officers renewed determination. Officer Sanchez picked up a small doll, the wear and tear marking it as loved. "This is hers," he confirmed, showing it to his team. Other items, a tiny shoe and a hairbrush, signaled they were on the right track. These discoveries fueled their resolve, turning fear into hope. They knew they had to act swiftly. Officer Sanchez's flashlight swept across the basement, landing on an old wooden door half covered by debris. "What's this?" he asked, moving closer. The door creaked as he pushed it open, revealing an underground room eerily decorated. Sketches covered the walls, dark, unsettling drawings of Lily. In the corner, a dusty journal lay on a table. Sanchez picked it up, flipping through the pages filled with disturbing fantasies and scenarios involving Lily. As Officer Sanchez read through the journal, the horrifying details painted a clear picture of the nephew's demented mind. Each entry was more disturbing than the last, filled with obsessive declarations and imagined interactions with Lily. The terrifying fantasies gave insights into his delusional state and hinted at his plans. These revelations, though chilling, were crucial for understanding his motives and predicting his future actions. The officers felt both sickened and driven. The journal entries chronicled the nephew's obsession and delusional belief that Lily was somehow linked to his troubled past. He wrote about imaginary scenarios where she played a key role in his distorted idea of family. The words on the pages revealed a twisted mind, beset by dark fantasies. His mental health issues became evident, showing a person unable to grasp reality. Officer Sanchez knew they were dealing with deep psychological complexities. The team contacted psychiatric experts to understand the nephew's behavior better. Dr. Hawthorne, a seasoned psychologist, reviewed the journal and sketches. His fixation shows signs of severe delusional disorder, she explained. These entries suggest he believes Lily fulfills a critical role in his life fantasy. The insights provided by Dr. Hawthorne were indispensable. "We need to anticipate his next move," Sanchez emphasized, realizing they were now in a race against time. Surveillance footage from nearby cabins revealed the nephew fleeing into the woods, triggering a massive manhunt. Officer Sanchez called everyone together. "He's on foot," he announced, showing the blurry images of the man skulking through the underbrush. The sight of him on the run galvanized the team. "Mobilize all units," Sanchez ordered. The hunt began in earnest, with officers gearing up and heading out, determined to bring the nephew to justice and find Lily. Tracking dogs and drones joined the search, combing through extensive wilderness. Officer Sanchez coordinated the operation, deploying resources strategically. "Cover every possible exit," he instructed, ensuring no stone was left unturned. The dogs picked up on his scent, leading officers through winding trails and thick underbrush. The drones zipped overhead, providing aerial views of the terrain. Every officer knew the gravity of the situation. They moved with practiced precision, searching relentlessly. The tension reached its peak as every second counted in the race against time. Officer Sanchez felt the weight of each passing moment. "Move quickly, but carefully," he reminded his team. The forest was vast, and the nephew's lead was uncertain. The pressure mounted, knowing that finding him could mean the difference between life and death for Lily. Eyes scanned every shadow, and ears perked at every rustling sound. The clock ticked loudly in their minds. After days of intensive searching, a break came when a hiker spotted someone matching the nephew's description near a remote trail. "I saw him just an hour ago," the hiker reported breathlessly. Officer Sanchez's heart raced. "Which direction?" he asked urgently. The hiker pointed deeper into the woods. "Let's move," Sanchez ordered, rallying his team. The lead was fresh, and they had a chance to close in. The hunt accelerated, fueled by this glimmer of hope. Officers converged on the area and found the nephew disoriented and struggling, making the arrest without incident. "Hands where I can see them," an officer commanded, and the nephew complied weakly. He looked haggard, eyes darting around. "You're coming with us," Officer Sanchez said firmly, cuffing him. The team breathed a collective sigh of relief, but the urgency persisted. "Now, we need answers," Sanchez stated, steering the nephew toward their vehicles to question him further. They pressed him for Lily's location, but his unstable state prolonged the excruciating wait. "Where is she?" Officer Sanchez demanded, but the nephew's responses were incoherent and rambling. Every minute felt like an eternity. The officers exchanged anxious glances. "We need him lucid," Sanchez noted. They decided to get him medically evaluated, hoping it would stabilize his mind enough to get a clear answer. The tension was unbearable, with Lily's fate hanging in the balance. His erratic ramblings eventually led them to a secluded cave. The rugged terrain made the journey difficult, but the urgency drove them forward. Officer Sanchez and his team navigated through dense foliage and rocky paths. "This way," Sanchez urged, following the barely coherent directions. The cave entrance loomed ahead, dark and ominous. "Stay alert," he instructed, feeling the tension rise. They approached cautiously, the weight of their mission pressing heavily on them. Inside, Lily, now 7 years old but traumatized, clung to life. She lay on a small bed with tattered blankets. Officer Sanchez's heart ached at the sight. "It's her," he confirmed, his voice soft but determined. The team moved swiftly but carefully, avoiding any sudden movements. "We're here to help you, Lily," Sanchez said gently. Her eyes opened slowly, showing a glimmer of recognition and hope amidst the fear and exhaustion. The rescue team carefully extricated Lily from the cave, rushing her to medical care. They used a stretcher to navigate the rough terrain, ensuring her safety. "We've got you," an officer assured her, holding her hand. The team moved with precision, every step measured. The journey felt endless, but each moment brought them closer to safety. Lily's frail form clung to her rescuers' presence as they emerged from the forest into awaiting emergency vehicles. She is physically weak but responsive, slowly beginning to recount her ordeal with the support of professionals. Emergency workers assessed her condition, noting bruises and signs of malnutrition. "You're safe now, Lily," one of them reassured her, while a nurse checked her vitals. Amidst her fragile recounting, small details emerged, providing crucial insights. The team listened intently, piecing together her harrowing experience. Lily's words, though few, painted a vivid picture of her survival. In the ensuing investigation, it becomes clear that Jenkins's nephew had kidnapped Lily to recreate a twisted family scenario from his childhood. Officer Sanchez delved into the disturbing journal entries and drawings. "It's like he tried to relive his past through her," Sanchez summarized grimly. Professionals pieced together the nephew's delusional motives, understanding how his troubled upbringing had manifested in this horrific act. Each revelation added depth to the tragedy they were unraveling. The nephew's confession shocks the entire community, leading to his institutionalization and the town grappling with the aftermath. "Why didn't we see it?" neighbors whispered, the sense of betrayal palpable. Officer Sanchez addressed the public, urging calm and providing reassurance about Lily's recovery process. The once tight-knit neighborhood now faced the challenge of rebuilding trust. The nephew's fate, now in the hands of mental health professionals, left a lingering sense of unease. The community struggles to come to terms with the horrific actions of someone they thought they knew. "He always seemed off, but we never imagined this," one resident admitted. Aaron, another neighbor, expressed feelings of guilt. "We should have noticed the signs," she said softly. The town held meetings to process the trauma collectively, sharing stories and seeking understanding. Officer Sanchez continued to support the Thompsons and the community, helping them navigate the complexities of healing. Lily's parents are grateful to have their daughter back, but face the challenge of helping her recover from the trauma. Tim and Sarah witnessed flashes of the old Lily amidst moments of fear and withdrawal. "We'll get through this, sweetheart," Tim assured her, holding her close. They engaged with experts to create a supportive environment, determined to see her smile again. The road to recovery appeared daunting, but their love infused each step with hope. Counselors work with Lily to help her slowly reintegrate back into normal life. Sessions involved play therapy and gentle conversations, creating a safe space for Lily. "She's making progress, but it's slow," the counselor informed Tim and Sarah. Each day brought small victories, like a genuine smile or a short story about her time at the cave. The Thompsons celebrated these moments, focusing on the positives to strengthen Lily's resolve and confidence. Neighbors build stronger connections, ensuring to keep a closer watch on their community to prevent future tragedies. Block parties and regular meetings became common, fostering an environment of vigilance and mutual support. "We need to look out for each other," Aaron emphasized in a neighborhood gathering. This renewed sense of unity and awareness brought a cautious optimism. The town, though scarred, aimed to grow stronger from the experience, determined to protect their loved ones. Lily's detailed recollections help piece together the nephew's twisted motives and his attempt to recreate a family scenario from his childhood. She spoke softly about the moments with the nephew, revealing his delusional speeches and controlling behavior. "He kept calling me someone else," Lily recalled, shivering slightly. Officer Sanchez listened intently, mapping out the nephew's actions. Each memory Lily shared became a vital clue, painting a clearer picture of the torment she endured and the nephew's disturbed mind. The local law enforcement uses Lily's information to close any remaining gaps in the case. Officer Sanchez meticulously documented every detail, connecting the dots. "Her accounts fill the holes we had," he told his team. They revisited physical and testimonial evidence, ensuring everything matched Lily's story. With each piece confirmed, they prepared a final report to present to the district attorney. The comprehensive details brought closure to a year-long mystery, reinforcing the community's faith in their protectors. Counselors determined that Lily's resilience and strength will aid in her long-term recovery. Sessions focused on rebuilding trust and a sense of normalcy. "Lily has a remarkable inner strength," one counselor noted, impressed by her progress. They developed a specialized plan to support her emotional and psychological healing. Her parents participated actively, learning how to reinforce her resilience. With professional guidance, Lily began to rediscover her childhood joys, showing signs of overcoming the trauma day by day. The town's awareness and vigilance become a testament to their collective strength to overcome the tragedy. Community leaders organized safety workshops and established watch groups. "We must stay united," a neighbor urged during a meeting. The heightened awareness fostered a sense of shared responsibility. People communicated more openly, building networks of trust and support. This collective effort not only aimed to prevent future incidents, but also helped residents feel safer. The tragedy united them, forging stronger bonds. Officer Sanchez is praised for his dedication and efforts that led to Lily's rescue. At a town hall meeting, the community expressed their gratitude. "Your perseverance brought our little girl home," Tim Thompson said, shaking Sanchez's hand firmly. The officer humbly acknowledged their thanks, emphasizing the team's hard work. His determination and leadership were pivotal, earning him respect. The recognition was a silver lining, reinforcing the resolve among law enforcement to continue protecting their community with unwavering commitment. A community vigil is held to honor Lily and show solidarity against the horrors of her ordeal. The town square filled with residents holding candles, their faces reflecting solemn determination. "We stand together for Lily, and for every child," declared the mayor, voice resonating with resolve. The ceremony was filled with poignant speeches and silent prayers. The air was thick with emotion, but also hope. The vigil served as a reminder of their collective resilience and commitment to never let such a tragedy occur again. Lily returns to school, and her friends and teachers welcome her back with love and care. The classroom buzzed with anticipation as she walked in, flanked by her parents. "Welcome back, Lily!" her teacher exclaimed, leading the class in applause. Her friends gathered around, offering hugs and kind words. "We missed you," one classmate whispered, squeezing her hand. The supportive environment added a sense of normalcy. Lily's nervous smile grew more confident as she felt the warm embrace of her school community. Mr. Collins is finally able to find peace, knowing his revelations helped bring Lily home. Sitting on his porch, he reflected on the past year. "I'm glad I spoke up," he muttered to himself, the weight lifting from his shoulders. Neighbors, once wary, now greeted him with nods of appreciation. "You did the right thing," an elderly woman told him, her eyes kind. His courage transformed him from a recluse to a quiet hero, bringing him a newfound sense of belonging. The Thompson family begins to rebuild their lives, grateful for the support from their community. Tim and Sarah worked closely with therapists, creating a safe space for Lily at home. "It's a new beginning," Sarah said, her voice filled with hope as they painted Lily's room a cheerful yellow. Friends and neighbors rallied around, offering help from meals to playdates. Each act of kindness strengthened their resolve. The family's journey was far from over, but they faced it with renewed faith and community support. The town, once shattered by Lily's disappearance, now stands united and stronger, determined to protect their children from future harm. Community-driven initiatives for child safety and neighborhood watch programs became the norm. "We owe it to our kids," a father declared at a town hall meeting, igniting applause. The shared trauma forged a tighter community. Though scarred, they embraced a future rooted in vigilance and solidarity. Everyone vowed to protect one another, making their town a safer, more connected place.